This call is now being recorded.
Deepa ma'am, we can start.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, good afternoon, one and all present here. I, Miss Deepa P, Assistant Professor of Computer Science and Engineering. I welcome all to the today's webinar on applications of machine learning. I heartily welcome our today's chief guest, Mr. Raghu Prasad KS, Corporate Trainer and Technical Consultant, Kaushalya Technical Training and the Consultancy Services. Sir has 24 years of experience in IT and training, and also Sir has a strong background in programming, designing, solution architecting, project management, and other areas too. Also, Sir is a professional yoga trainer and trained more than 5,000 people in yoga as a free service to the society. Sir, we are heartily welcome you to our today's webinar for the applications of the machine learning. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you,
Now,
Deepa.
thank you, sir. I heartily welcome Dr. Shivprakash T, sir, Treasurer of Sri Vijay Vittala Charitable Trust. And also, I also welcome our beloved principal, Dr. Rajendra S, sir, who supported in all the events and for our webinar. Now, I extend a warm welcome to our beloved HOD, Professor Mangala Patil ma'am, to the webinar. I
Thank you, ma'am.
heartily welcome all my dear colleagues and the students for this wonderful session. So, welcome you all once again to the webinar. And now I will hand over the session to Mr. Raghu Prasad sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So at the outset, let me thank HOD Madam Mangala, and Principal Dr. S. Rajendra sir, Treasurer Dr. Shiv Prakash, and the Chairperson Srimati Rukmini, all the faculty members of the department, all the students for giving me an opportunity to present my ideas and applications of machine learning. So it would be around 1 hour 45 minutes. And during this, first let me present all the things whatever I is supposed to present. I have a presentation followed by some demonstration of few code related to this. So after that, if you have any doubts and all, you can put it in the chat window, and at the end I will keep some 10 to 15 minutes for the discussion. And I kindly request all of you to turn off your audio as well as video. Whenever you require, you can turn on. So now I will all put you in the silence mode, and whenever at the end, whenever it is required, you can turn on and you can talk. So let me just present a small presentation on this. Just kindly confirm in the chart window once I turn it on, whether you're able to see the presentation. Let me know, are you able to see the presentation? One of you can talk and then I can continue. Yes, right? You're able to see this presentation? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thanks. So now let me start, because when I'm into presentation mode, difficult me to see the comments or anything. So if anything, if something breaks and all, you can open the mic and you can talk. Okay. Yeah. Let me just get started, and I will put you all in the silence mode. Okay, let me get started. So today I'm going to talk about the applications of machine learning. In the so as Deepa Madam has given introduction about me. So before coming into the IT field, I was a lecturer in an engineering college for about 7 years. And I'm into IT from last 17 years. I worked with various companies like Cisco, CSE, ICSE group of companies, First Apex. And as part of the professional work in the IT, so I started my career as a Java developer, and then I moved all the way to project lead, project manager, program manager, solution architect. And initial stages of my project works, I mostly worked on the Java technologies. And as and when I got the opportunity, and as and when the technology evolved, I got a good opportunity to work with Python as well as JavaScript technologies. We call it as mean stack. Also on the Internet of Things, and then artificial intelligence, machine learning. And from the last 3 years, I'm into corporate training and consultancy. As part of the consultancy services, I'm consultant for various vendors of the Atal Tinkering Lab. Also, like government agencies like ECI, ILECIT, and a few of the companies like Incornus, which is a healthcare service provider. So as part of the consultancy, we also keep on developing applications and platform. When it comes to the training, I have been providing training to the IT professionals as well as students. From customers include like Philips, L&T, NextGen, Incornus as per system. And other than that, most of the universities in Bangalore, be it Reva University, Nagarjuna, or like Dayanand Sagar University, and most of the colleges in Bangalore and around and Karnataka, and even once I went to NIT Imphal. So this is a brief introduction about me, apart from what Deepa Madam has said. So I will be talking about introduction to AI, ML, deep learning, because there are so many terminologies. Sometimes we will use interchangeably. Let us understand what exactly is these terminologies. And what kind of applications that are being built whenever I say artificial intelligence or machine learning? The history of machine AI and also the deep machine learning with deep dive, and which are the different kinds of applications that are already being developed, and also a demo on the hands-on coding with hands-on from my side, just to demonstrate how we can get started and start with the coding in the ML. So when we say artificial intelligence, as a human being, we have this cognitive functions. Whenever I say cognitive function, it is our ability to think, learn, and act. Right? This is a gift for the human beings in the animal kingdom. So that's why we are treated as the better animals than any other animals in the human kingdom. So there has been an endeavor from the human being. Can we make a machine intelligent like this, think like this? So we nowadays, every day we use a machine, right? Without using a machine, our life would be a bit difficult, right? When we get up in the morning, we want to have a cup of coffee or tea. We will use a coffee maker. And also we want the water for our day-to-day activities. We switch on a pump. All our machines, our fan, our TV, or anything is a machine, but they are all programmed to do something. They don't have their own intelligence, right? So they cannot do on their own. They should be programmed to do something. So can we do something so that the machine can also develop what is called as a machine intelligence? So that is where this is contrast to the natural intelligence, the possessed by the human being. So in computer terminology, we say artificial intelligence is nothing but the machine intelligence. A machine can demonstrate some kind of an intelligence so that they will be helpful for us, and so that we can lead a better life. So that is what we wanted to, we have come across with this particular terminology called as artificial intelligence. And this is part of the cognitive computing. That is the process of thinking, reasoning. We as a human being, we have great sense organs, right? When we want to do something, we look at it, and then we can hear something, we can smell something. So we talk in our natural language. So can we make a machine, at least can we put most of these things into a machine so that that can somewhat get those cognitive functions? So that is what is the endeavor. And from that perspective, usually everything, this whatever I spoke so far, we call it as an artificial intelligence. What is that? Any technique that enables computer to mimic human intelligence. So when we say human intelligence, we get the intelligence. One is the natural intelligence. Second, we learn, we acquire, we apply some kind of a rules, we take some kind of a decision. Okay, so all these things are called as the artificial intelligence. It is nothing but a technique where a machine can mimic cognitive functions. Or we can build a machine which can mimic the cognitive function of a human being, is called as the artificial intelligence. In that, there are some subset. Machine learning is one of the subset, where we use some kind of a statistical techniques. And with that, what machine will do is, it will try to improve the task which it does with the experience. Like the human being, suppose if we are doing the same task from past so many years, the day one when we started working and now we are better at that particular task, right? That means we are learning with the experience. In the same way, if we can apply some of these statistical techniques which can enable machine to improve the task what it does, that is called as the machine learning. And there is another subset of the machine learning which is called as the deep learning. So in this deep learning, we are using what is called as the neural networks. As a human being, we have so many neurons, right? So our brain itself is a complex machine. We have so many biological neurons. We call it as biological neurons. Suppose when something suddenly, some fire catches up, then that activation, that stimulus for us to run away or do something, right? It involves crores of neurons, which we call it as biological neurons. So the way we solve any problem or way we learn with the help of these biological neurons, can we apply the same thing as part of the solving a problem? We call it as a deep learning. So deep learning is where we apply this multi-layer neural networks and we have a lot of data to process. By using this multi-layer networks, can we analyze some kind of an image or some kind of a speech? So those are the things which we call it as the deep learning. It is one of the subset of the machine learning, machine learning. So broadly, any activity where we want to make a machine mimic like the human being, we call it as artificial intelligence. So the machine improves with the task, whatever it does, we call it as the machine learning. And when we apply this neural networks to solve some kind of a problem, that is called as the deep learning. So these are the broader categories or broader subset which we use. And further, again, it can be classified further, because like as I said, like artificial intelligence means based on the human, we have many sense organs, right? In the same way, machine learning as can be further broadly classified like into what is called as supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, and deep learning. So what is that and all, I will tell you in a while. So just to give you a gist of it, so when I say supervised machine learning, it is nothing but the way as a kid, how we learned something, right? Just you recall how you learned to identify all the images, all the pictures as a young kid, like maybe 2 years, 3 years old. So probably your parents would have showed you the picture of something, like picture of a image of a apple, and then they said A for apple. So or B for ball. Then what happened? We call it as a label data, where apple is labeled, and then so you identify that image, and when some days later someone visits your house and they come up and show say some different picture, so you are able to identify whether it is an apple or something like that. That we call it as a supervised learning. So like this is the example, just an example of a supervised learning. When you say unsupervised learning, so here there is not a label, data is not labeled. It is like, for example, if a kid is given a set of fruits which they have not seen before, then if we ask them to group them based on something, then they may be grouping it based on a shape or a color or something like that. That's what we call it as the unsupervised machine learning. So other than that, natural language processing is one of the important areas of the artificial intelligence, where like the way I'm communicating with you, it is the natural language. Maybe we speak in our mother tongue or English or any other language. Can a machine can understand the way we talk? Because when you frame a sentence, you can frame in different way, right? The context may be different, right? So can the machine understand that? So that is what area is called as the natural language processing. An example could be a chatbot. Now we have a lot of chatbot, right? So it is either text generation, question answering, translating from one language to another language, and the content extraction. These are all part of the natural language processing, or we call it as a NLP. Next is the vision. So nowadays, most of us, like in all the colleges, universities, offices, we have like, they have written something, okay, we are watching you, or you are being watched by a camera. So recognizing the image, analyzing the image, classifying the image is very much required in healthcare industry or in surveillance, security, right? So that is one of the areas of the artificial intelligence. Other than that, text to speech, speech to text is another area, and the robotics, where multiple sensors put together work. And when we get a lot of data, so can we make some sense out of the data, and can we instruct a robot to do something? So that is also part of the artificial intelligence, which involves Internet of Things as well as machine learning or AI. And also we can develop an expert system for a specific use case or for specific industry. So these are all broadly what we call it as a artificial intelligence. Machine learning is one of the part of it. And these are all the various things. So nowadays, like, see, we have virtual personal assistants, and also we have like Amazon Alexa, Google Assist. So many things are there. And also in an iPhone, we have Siri. So they're all again examples of artificial intelligence. Let us look at some of the products of the artificial intelligence. Let us look at the Google product suite. So there are a lot of companies in the world which are exploring and experimenting on a driverless car. Can I make a car driverless? So see, driving is again a technique and an art, right? So that too in the crowded streets of Bangalore or any metropolitan cities in India, driving itself is very difficult. So when we are driving, our sense organs, right, and then all our hand, leg, and all should be really active, and we do not know from what side what is going to come. Can we make a machine like this? Then it involves putting a lot of sensors and seeing what kind of image it is. How do we distinguish between what you can signal and other things? So that is where the world is moving towards, or a lot of experimentation is happening in terms of putting some kind of a sensors, camera, and then putting all of them together, and then understanding the way traffic moves and all. So this is one of the top most products which all the companies, Tesla and all those companies are working on that. Other than that, when we look at day-to-day life also, you can see many of the products which is associated with Google, which is using machine learning. The simple example is, if you look at the mail, whatever you receive, Gmail, and some of the mails are classified as a spam, right? Some of the mails are not classified as non-spam. How can a machine do it? Okay, how can a Google Gmail does it? So basically, like, there are some keywords, maybe we are using some keywords, and also like it has to learn as it starts getting a lot of mails. Suddenly you may get a mail saying that congratulations, you won this much big lottery, that too coming from Africa or some other country, and then they will ask you to do something, right? So definitely that is a spam, right? No one can give you that much money, and suddenly you may get a mail saying that someone is dying and they want to transfer all the money to you, things like that. And how a machine like analyzes that it is a spam or not spam. Suppose if you keep on not opening some of the mail for longer, it may next time if some mail comes from that may put it into a spam. So practically it will be difficult to identify which is a spam or a not spam by setting all the keywords. So that is where the machine learning algorithms could be applied to identify this. Other than that, there are a lot of other products. Like now, when you start replying to a mail, now Google gives the suggestion, right? That is an example of a machine learning, right? Suppose it will frame the sentence for you. That is an example. And also the Google Maps, and also offensive content identification in the YouTube, and also like Google keyword search. There is something called Google AdWords. Suppose when you say search for best engineering colleges in Bangalore, some colleges comes up. So basically these are the keywords some colleges would have used along with the Google, and they would have spent some money so that their product comes up, or it is all depends on the usage and all. So this is a complex thing they are using to come up with that particular search criteria. And other than that, Google Assist, like every Android phone has a Google Assist, and also there is something called Google Class. What it does is, if it is an app, and if you use that app, and if you keep it in front of any plant, it will identify you what kind of plant it is. It will try to compare the images, and it will try to identify. Similarly, home automation. So Google has tied up with Nest. They are good in manufacturing what you can call it as a thermostats. And Google also, like a lot of nowadays home automation products are integrated as part of the some of the Google suite, right? So any of these technology companies are already applying the artificial intelligence or machine learning as part of their day-to-day product suite or day-to-day usage. So these are the personal assistants which you have, Amazon Alexa, like one is you can play the music. Other than that, you can check the orders and things like that. So they're already there. And how it is, suppose whenever we talk, like it is not that everyone speaks in the same way. The tone is different, the way that we form the sentence is different. Still, it tries to understand the context and do that. Okay, and also it will try to improve as the day progresses, try to give you the proper answer as much as possible. And another example is a recommendation system. Now, still see now Dasara festival season, this Diwali is coming, right? Whenever you buy any products from any of these e-commerce site, then they will say, oh, the person who has bought this also bought this. That we call it as a recommender system. Okay, that is a recommender system. So that is again an example of a machine learning. If you watch a Netflix movie or any drama in the Netflix, so then they will suggest based on whatever is your taste, they are going to suggest some kind of a movie or anything. Again, these are all the examples of a machine learning. And the best example, you know, like in a Facebook, when you upload the your image, so it will basically tag all your friends and all, right? That is an example. Not only tagging the face, you can tag any other thing like a sky, like a car, or like a bicycle, building. So many things can be done. And also recently I am reading one particular article where they say now during the corona also, like the social distancing, they're trying to monitor and check if the people are not maintaining social distancing and things like that, with using all those sensors and cameras and things like that. And another example which is useful in the medical industry is like the chatbots. That too, you know, like during corona, when the people, when they are having some disease other than corona, it was difficult for them to reach out to the doctors and the hospitals. Then people turned on to virtual doctors, like basically using these chatbots, and they will give you, see, finally what doctor does is doctor also gives you some kind of a guidance based on his experience, right? He will ask you some question here, she will ask you some question, and then they are going to answer, right? So again, that is an example of like how, and that is an example precisely the healthcare chatbots are doing. It is going to go through a lot of the records, whatever they have, and try to answer and try to understand the symptom and try to give away some kind of a solution or message. So it can be like it will be additional support for the doctors, and maybe it is primary level, it can do some kind of analysis, right? So this is what chatbots can do. And a lot of other things are there in the medical field, where it can be used to analyze the scans and just predict whether some cell is cancerous or non-cancerous. So like this, a lot of examples are there. And when it comes to AI, it is not very new. It is very old, actually. In fact, it started somewhere in 1956. And currently, it is getting prominence, and it is not like a fiction or a scientific movie of a English movie. It is not like that. It is becoming a reality. People already started using their product in their services. And the first major breakthrough came in 1997 when the IBM built chess computer that is called as Deep Blue with the human champion. And then there was AlphaGo, one of the games similar to the chess, and also there also a machine has beat the champion. And then we have this Apple Siri, Google driverless car. IBM has something called Watson for all these things. So that is where nowadays you can see this is getting these products are becoming reality. And why now? Why not earlier? The problem was like when we wanted to do like how we learn, we need a lot of information, right? That with that information we learn as a human being. Similarly, if I want to make machine learn, means it needs huge data, right? So now we have a lot of data because of the explosion of the internet. Now we have a lot of data. We every day we create a lot of data, right? And also machines create a lot of data. We have sensors, so many sensors surrounding us with the implementation of Internet of Things, smart cities and all. A lot of data is being generated either by human being or by machine. So with that data, can we analyze, can we make some sense of data? That is one thing. Now the availability of the data. Second thing is the computing power. So availability of the computing power. As the day progresses, we are getting a better computing machine, and also we can offload it to the cloud. So because of these two things, now a lot of emergence of the applications that's being built on the built on what is called as machine learning or artificial intelligence in general. So that's why it is getting the prominence. Okay, so that is first part of the presentation. And other than these things, there are small applications which are being built. So I was recently reading an article in Times of India. So KSRTC bus has also developed what you can call it as a sensor-based anti-crash devices. So what they have done is like they have put these devices which is installed in the cameras installed in the cabin of a driver, and which will detect the face and the eye movement. Based on that, it will give some kind of a alert. Suppose if usually like long when the driver is driving for longer duration, maybe in the night and things like that. So there is a possibility, even if we goes for some kind of short sleep, then it is really or drowsy, or he's become drowsy and all, like it is really harmful to the people who are traveling, right? So then it will send an alert based on his facial expression and eye closure and all. And also like if a vehicle is driving very fast, and it has the ability to identify some kind of a obstacle 10 to 20 meters, and then it can alert also speed, it can reduce the speed. So things like that. Because for this actually KSRTC got the award also. They are using it some long term, some buses on the some of the routes, on the pilot routes. So other than that, recently I also read some kind of a news how technology can be helpful to solve problems related to security. So near Manyata Tech Park, there is some engineer who has a house, and he went to US and no one was there in his house, but he has installed this, what you can call it as with the home automation surveillance cameras and all. And during one of the night here in India, what happened is some thieves actually wanted to get inside his house. Then this surveillance camera alerted. It sent a notification to his mobile number who is in the US, and immediately he has called the neighbor, which is at 3:25 a.m. India time, right? And then they alerted the police, and police came and they are able to catch the thief. So that is what is the power of the technology, right? So we have to use the technology to make our life better, and it should help us in that regard, right? So this is where already a lot of experimentation is going on, a lot of things are being developed as part of the AI, and this is a few of the examples of AI. Not just only the AI in the sense, this is mixture of many technologies are converging. So one of them is like Internet of Things with the sensors and with the ability to detect the face and things like that. So these are the few of the examples which is really, people started using it. Okay, so this is first part of the presentation where I started explaining what exactly is the machine learning, artificial intelligence, and what are the different branches of it, and then how this can be used in real life, not just like a fiction or something. Okay, let me pause for a moment. Hope you are able to get it. Hope it is interesting. Let me just start with you people, and then let me continue with that. Just let me say, hope it's interesting. People can cut in the chat window. Hope you are getting something out of it. Okay, so let me move to the next section where I would be discussing something called data science and also where how this machine learning can be part of a project of data science. Nowadays, again, we are using these technologies interchangeably, like machine learning, data science, and things like that. So let us see what is the difference and what exactly is the project and what kind of project, what is the life cycle, and how this machine learning can be part of the project and things like that. That is the second part of my webinar. Let me open up another presentation. So there is another terminology that is being extensively used nowadays. You hear something called data science. So what is data science? They say data is the gold. Okay. See, now what is happening as people started extensively using the social media, using the blogging, using multimedia. So companies wants to know what customers are talking about their product, their services. Suppose if let us say you have a laptop and if that laptop is not working, you call a service center, try to get it serviced. But if your service experience is not good, one is you will anyways you will inform the company. Other than that, you also put it in a blog, you put it in a Facebook, you put it in a Insta or something like that, saying that oh, this service is not good. Similarly, if some services are good or what your experience is good, that also you put it in the social media. So now what is happening? Like this will have an impact on the business. So they want to know like how what kind of people, I mean, what kind of information is being circulated in the media, and whether it is positive, whether it is negative, is it helpful for me, or is it helping me to solve a problem? There could be a really genuine situation where some customer is not getting a particular service from a company, and somebody is hiding maybe. So they want to, if someone talks about it, definitely maybe they will reach out to that person and solve their problem. So that is where we use something called data science, where it is a set of scientific methods, processes, algorithms to extract the knowledge and the insight from the data. Okay, so now the data, whatever we have two kinds of data. One we call it as a structured data, and then is the unstructured data. What is the structured data? Mostly the data which we save it into a database using a SQL, that we call it as a structured data. There is unstructured data, like the data, whatever you put in a blog or a social media, or a lot of data coming in the form of a text or a video or a audio, or like they're all not structured, right? So that anybody can prepare any video. So the big challenge is now in those scenarios, like how can we extract the knowledge? How can we extract the data? And from that, how can we extract the knowledge or the hidden pattern of this? So that is where we use something called data science, the concept like data mining and big data, where the information which is getting generated to be analyzed for the purpose of maybe solving some problem or helping others or things like that. So that is where the data science comes into picture, and machine learning is one of the part of the data science project. Okay, so the data whatever we have now from 2000 onwards, you can see a lot of data is unstructured. Earlier it was very structured data, now we have unstructured data. So it needs a different kind of different techniques for processing this kind of a data. Earlier, we were having what is called as a business intelligence tools and all, which were capable of handling huge data and the variety of the data, but they may not be good enough now with this kind of data which is coming in from various sources like financial logs, text files, multimedia forms, sensors, and instruments. Right, so it needs a different kind of a what you can call it, different ways we need handle in order to analyze that data. So that is where the data science is getting predominance, and it with the help of data science and the machine learning, people are using it to solve many problems, maybe setting up the dynamic pricing, predicting the flight delay, or like it can be used in the marketing to understand the churn. Suppose now, like a lot of telecom operators are there. Now with the same mobile number, you can move to another telecom operator. They want to know why this person is moving to that. What is the reason behind? Is it because of my service? Our competitor is offering a better price and things like that. So those kind of analysis we can make with the projects associated with data science, where machine learning is one part of it. And also how to predict like how long this customer can stick to me. Can I sell some other things? Cross-selling and upselling. What is cross-selling and upselling is? Like upselling is, suppose you go to a bank where you put some money and they will say, no. They will call you one day and they will say, okay, put money into this particular instruments and things like that. That we call it as upselling. Cross-selling is same company has insurance as well as mutual fund and things like that. They will tell you, okay, you go and you can also use, these are the different ways of where you can invest the money. That is called cross-selling. So people are using this data to analyze and applying some kind of a checking some kind of a pattern where they can do all these things. And other than that, social media analysis, sentimental analysis, what people are talking about, and things like that. And healthcare, it can be extensively used in the disease prediction and medication, and again the pandemic situation, it would be more effective. And also trying to find fraud transaction in case of the insurance and things like that. So a lot of areas where this is being used. And when you say data science or any project, basically it should start with any project when we take up in data science, where we wanted to understand, discover the hidden patterns from the raw data, and then we want to make some sense of the data and predict the future and take some kind of a business decision. So any project here should start from the business statement. If we take up this particular use case, like for example, if I want to predict the customer churn, why customer is moving from my company to another company. Let us say that is a business problem. So let us say Airtel wants to know why customers are moving from my company to another company, say Jio. So then then they start with the business problem. Then they approach some kind of a business team, and business team wants to know what is the problem. Then probably they will approach some kind of a data scientist and ask them, yeah, this is the problem. Tell me, how can we solve this? Then what data scientist will do? He will ask, okay, get me the data, get me the information. So then business team try to get the data of all their customers, maybe some data available in their own database, some data which the customer is putting in kind of a blog or in kind of a video or audio and things like that. So there are various sources of data which they will gather. So once this data is available, then what will happen is, then this data scientist along with the analyst try to explore the data. We call it as exploratory data analysis, where basically we wanted to understand the data and then see what are all the different parameters and which parameter is affecting what. If I increase something, what is going to happen to something? Is this data is clean, or is there any duplicate data, or some of the data are having outliers? That means suppose let us say outlier is like, for example, in a test maximum marks is 100, someone gets 110, that is outlier. Or like someone gets negative, that is outlier. That means there is something fishy, something fraud is somewhere here. So that data, how to treat those data, that we call it as the exploratory data analysis. And then we have to pictorially represent the data. So we say, right, a picture is worth of 1,000 words. So how can we pictorially represent the data? That is part of the exploratory data analysis. Once that is done, then in order to again analyze the hidden patterns and all, or in order to predict something, or in order to classify something, we will apply the machine learning algorithms. That is where the machine learning comes into picture. So where we will be building a model, apply some algorithm, and then try to train that particular algorithm with the data and then test it. And once everything is fine, then we go for the data product engineering. Maybe we are going to develop a web application. Maybe we are going to develop a mobile application and deploy it, and then how the people start working on that. So this is typically one of the life cycle of a, what you can call it as a data science project, where machine learning is one of the part of it. So it all starts with the business requirement. From the business requirement, we collect the data, we gather the data. Once we collect and gather the data, then we do the exploratory data analysis using which we call it as EDA, and then pictorially represent the things, and then apply the machine learning algorithm, fine tune it, then we go for the data product engineer. So this is a typical example of a data science project. And with that, what kind of analysis we can do? We can predict the causal analysis or prescriptive. There are two things. One is predicting and another is prescriptive. So what is predicting? Suppose if a bank gives planning to give money to some of his customer, is what is the possibility he will repay the money? That is one thing. Or prescriptive analysis is like it is on the go, dynamic parameters. Some examples could be like the self-driving car, or like playing the chess games, are mostly a part of the prescriptive analysis. And this is where machine learning can be used to make some kind of a predictions. Okay, so this is where the machine learning can be used to detect a fraudulent transactions or segmenting the customers and things like that. So that is where the machine learning could be used. And this is the life cycle of a project where model machine learning is one part of the project. So now coming to this, then this is conceptually everything is fine. Do we have any tools, or do we have any language or any technique where I can apply and I can use and which is suitable for solving this kind of a problem? So there are multiple options. Python is one of them. It is most suitable for this kind of a project, data science project, where Python is useful in machine learning, artificial intelligence. There are other things like programming languages like R, one of the programming language. SAS is another programming language, but Python is mostly suitable because one is it is free and it is open source. Because of the open source, people started developing many libraries on top of it, Python, which could be helpful in solving this kind of problem. So when you want to start with the machine learning, not necessarily you will start from the scratch. You can just make use of the libraries or the algorithms which are available, and then you can make use of that. So that is where Python comes into picture, Python comes into predominant. And other than that, basically it has a lot of libraries, and people started, it has a lot of libraries for each one of the things whatever I said. It has a libraries for the analysis, and then visualization, and then product engineering. So you can use it extensively, right? So what are the libraries that could be useful when we get into real projects? So the things which we really get into once we start is like, there is something called NumPy. NumPy is nothing but, or people also say NumPy, is a numerical Python, which is basically an array, n-dimensional array. See, finally, when we work with the machine learning, we will be working with the numbers. Even the text will be converted into a number, and we will be working on that. So the basic things which we should be at least good at are we have to revise the basic concepts of the mathematics, metrics, linear algebra, statistics, okay, bit of integration, right, derivatives. So all those things are very much helpful when we deeply get into the machine learning. So NumPy is a powerful library which basically works with the n-dimensional array. Other than that, which we will be working is Pandas. Pandas is like your Excel sheet. The data we put it in an Excel sheet, right, in the form of a rows and columns. So any data, and also it is something like your SQL also, structured query language, using a programming language other than the SQL. So what you can call it as, you can do the data manipulation and data analysis. That is what we can do with this. The data could be like a tabular data or a time series data. What is a time series data? Like, for example, data of the corona now. So as the days progresses, we will be getting how many total cases are there, how many people died, and things like that. So that is a time series data. And other than that, we need visualization. So for visualization, we'll be using what is called as the Matplotlib. Matplotlib is a powerful library. Matplotlib again is one of the Matplot is one of the powerful visualizations and tool which is used by the scientific and engineering community. Here there is a library which is developed on Python, which either it tries to do many of the things the Matplotlib, especially from the perspective of the visualization. So if you want to draw a graph and all, we will be using the Matplotlib. Other than this, from the practical purpose, all these algorithms are there in a package called as scikit-learn. So this is a scikit-learn is one of the libraries which is available in the Python, which has most of these algorithms. Maybe you would have studied linear regression, logistic regression, or like any classification kind of algorithms. All these algorithms are already being built. We have to make use of that in order to build any machine learning project. Okay, these are the things which are required. Other than the basics of the Python, you should be strong in terms of usage of the Python. You should know the Python data structures like a list and the dictionary, object-oriented programming, and also you should know like how to use the functions of the Python. So these are all the basic things once you want to get started with this. And so let us before how basically machine machine learns. How machine learns. So when we give the data to the machine with the algorithms, so what it is going to do is first it is trying to identify the pattern in the data. Okay. And then with that particular pattern, what it does is like once it analyzes the pattern, then finally it all boils down to the mathematics, right? So it will try to identify the pattern and it tries to use that particular pattern with the help of the algorithms. And if a new it itself gets trained on this particular algorithm and it is going to build a model. When the new data is given, it basically uses that new data and then it tries to predict. So when it tries to predict, then it again depends on if the prediction is as per our expectation. We can say our model is successful. Otherwise, again we keep on fine-tuning the models and all those things. So if I have to tell you in a simple example, let us say we give the machine so much data of like maybe the cats and the dogs. We'll use a lot of pictures, thousands of pictures of cat and dog to the machine. And we will also say if this is a cat, this is a dog. So it understands the pattern and then say, okay, now it builds a model internally. Oh, this is a cat, this is a dog, something like this. When a new cat or new dog picture is given, whether it is going to classify how clearly it classifies as a dog or a cat, this is what is the prediction it is going to make. If it is proper, then as per our accuracy, then you can say your model is successful. And again, you cannot build any model which is 100% accurate, maybe more than 80%, 90% accuracy, or whatever the accuracy level you can set. And then you can say, okay, this particular model may be working, and then with some new set of data, we have to see how this model is going to work. So that is what a machine learning is going to work. And as you know, like there are different kinds of machine learning algorithm. One is a supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, and the reinforcement machine learning. What is a supervised machine learning? As I told earlier, the supervised machine learning is where there is a supervisor, like there is a person having a stick and trying to teach the machine, oh, this is what this is. And next time when a new data is given, the machine can predict properly. That is what is a supervised machine learning. The example, when I started my this webinar, I told about as a kid how we identified when a picture is given, telling whether it is an apple or a cat or a dog, something like that. That is what we call it as a supervised learning. With the supervised learning, you can do two things. One is regression and classification. What is regression? Predicting the price of something. For example, you may be knowing about stock and trade, right? Shares. Okay, so can I predict what would be the price of Infosys stock in the next week? That is an example of a regression where I am predicting the price. Or what is the probability? What is the rupee value against dollar in the next week? A specific value, that is called as a regression. Classification is putting them into different buckets. Like, for example, is this image is that of a human or is it that of another animal? So that kind of a class, or is this a cancerous cell or not so. So that is what we call it as a classification. So there is a supervised machine learning where we teach the machine how to do, and then with that it understands and it tries to predict something. That is the supervised. In case of the unsupervised machine learning, if I give an example, let us say your teacher says, read this book of machine learning and I can give any question. That is unsupervised machine learning. Supervised machine learning is when a teacher gives or professor gives, okay, these are the 30 questions. In that 30 question, I can give you some 10 questions. Now you know already these are the 30 questions. But in unsupervised machine learning, it's like application kind of IIT kind of a questions. Okay, we do not know, like even if 100 books are given, it is difficult to solve. That is called as the unsupervised machine learning, where it is data is not labeled. Okay, where I do not know what exactly is the label data, and also I do not know the output, but I wanted to make some kind of a group cluster. That is called as the unsupervised machine learning. The example is like one of them is the clustering, another one is the dimensionality reduction. So clustering is customer segmentation. Suppose a company wants to launch a new product and a new set of products, not only one product. They want to know like who are all the potential customer who can buy this. But they cannot exactly tell who are the customer. Maybe they can tell, okay, this particular product may be sold in some areas in urban Bangalore with people with this income and things like that. Or this product can be sold in the rural area or semi-rural area, urban area and things like that. Okay, so that is the segmentation. That is called as the clustering. So dimensionality reduction again is one of the ways, one of the technique where you have like so many parameters you are involved in taking a decision. Then you have to decide which are the parameters which is really required to take a decision, because some of them may not be, maybe duplicate, may not be required. That is what is called as the dimensionality reduction. Another thing is the reinforcement learning. This is something, example could be like the way people learn bicycle, right? Cycling. How do we learn cycle? No one can, someone can teach you cycling, that's okay. But when you are left alone in KR market, you have to drive yourself, right? You learn from your mistakes. So if you're suddenly some vehicle comes and suddenly you apply the brake very fast, hard, then maybe you jump and fall back. So next time you say, oh, this is bad. Next time I should be applying the brake gradually and things like that. So this is like driving driverless car or playing the chess. This is very difficult, and this part is really challenging. This is called as the reinforcement learning. Most of the solutions now, whatever people are working on, is mostly related to supervised learning. So these are the broad classification of machine learning. As I told you, supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, and the reinforcement learning. So how do we know what kind of algorithms to apply or what kind of problem? If I ask you a question, is this A or B? That means then it is a classification kind of a problem. Okay, is this image is that of a dog or a cat? That means it is a classification. Is it something weird? That is like anomaly detection. Is there is some problem? Some financial transaction is happening and suddenly someone withdraws huge money. That means there is something wrong. If the question is how much and how many, if the business problem is related to finding out how much or how many, that is a regression problem, regression algorithm. Is it something like how can I organize my customers or how can I organize the team? That is the clustering algorithm. If the question is what should I do next, then that is a reinforcement learning. These are the typically different kinds of questions we have to ask ourselves in order to identify what kind of problem we are trying to solve, and then accordingly we can get it. We can use the corresponding algorithms. And from the machine learning perspective, there are basically different scikit-learn has different algorithms for each one of these categories: supervised learning, unsupervised learning. We have classification and regression. In classification, we have algorithms. Regression, we have algorithms like linear regression, decision tree, Bayesian networks, and then you have logistic regression. That is a classification kind of a problem, and then support vector machine, random forest. On top of that, if you want to go into the deep neural networks, then we have artificial neural networks and things like that. Similarly, for clustering, we have algorithms like K-means clustering. And then for the dimensionality reduction, we have principal component analysis. There are so many algorithms are available. So let's get started with some of the simple algorithm, linear regression, which you would have studied as part of the high school mathematics. That is the, we will get started. Now let me just start with some kind of examples, show you like how these kind of things can be done using the Python. So we'll be using the pandas, we will be using the matplotlib, and then we will be using the scikit-learn. Okay, so let me just move to one particular simple linear regression kind of a algorithm, and I will show you like what kind of code we will be writing in order to solve this. Okay, so hope you're able to get this so far. Okay, so let me go to this. I will be using what is called as the Jupyter notebook. Usually for doing all these things, mostly this data scientist community, they uses what is called as Anaconda. So you can say Anaconda for Windows if you are using Windows machine. So it has Python, it has all these things, and it has an editor called as Spider and also Jupyter Notebook. So this is Anaconda, which we can. So this is what the software we need to download. We need to download Anaconda 64-bit. Okay, regular Python if you download, then again you have to keep on installing so many other libraries which are required for this. So better is to download the Anaconda and then install. It is not very difficult. You can download and install it and then you can use. So in the Anaconda, one of them is the Jupyter notebook. So for the purpose of demo, just I created a demo. So the first one, simple one, what I'm working on will be a linear regression. What is a linear regression? This is very simple data set I have. This is the data of the home prices. So what is this is? So this is the prices of a home based on the area, square feet. Suppose if the area of square feet is 2,600, this is something $550 or some unit. If the area is 3,000 square feet, the price of the home is this much, like this. When you look at this data, so you can observe like as the area increases, the price increases. That means it is a linear relationship. There is a linear relationship in this. Then now what is the problem I'm trying to solve is to, if we will use this data, we will use the algorithm, machine will learn from that, and then should we be able to predict when the new area is given with some square feet, is it able to predict the price? That is what is the question. So what is the problem we are trying to solve is, can this data can be used to predict the price? This is sample data. In reality, you have maybe lakhs of data, crores of data, so much huge data. But this is just for the purpose of the demonstration. This is what is the data I have prepared. The problem statement is you have been assigned to build a algorithm which should help to predict the price given the area. Okay, this is what we have to do. So now let us see how can we go about this. So I will be opening the Jupyter notebook. Okay, so now it starts opening Jupyter notebook. So using the Jupyter notebook, you can do any Python programming. Hopefully, I think you may be aware of this. You can do any Python programming. So now this program's already I prepared. Just let me open a notebook. Okay. So this is what we try to solve: sample problem of predicting the home prices in some location in US. Okay, this is what is the information we collected. Now this is the problem statement. Like simple linear algebra, where now before that I want to plot a graph of area versus price. So these are the points. See this plus red points. These are the points. Now, as you know, like in linear algebra, what we wanted to do is we need to get the best fit line. Best fit line. Our aim is to get the best fit line where it can pass through many of these points. So that now if I want to predict the price of another home with 3,500 area, what I can do, I can project this upward and then left side, so that I can know this is what is the price. So this is what we wanted to do when we say linear regression. For that, how it can be done mathematically is there are different ways of drawing this line, right? You can draw a line passing through these points in many ways. You can draw either like this or like this. Many ways you can draw. But how do you know which is the perfect fit? How to draw this? For that, the mathematics behind that is we want to find out the gap between the actual price and the predicted price. Suppose here, what is the gap? See, actually the price of 3,300 square feet is this much, whereas the predicted price is somewhere here. Okay, so what is this particular gap? This is the delta. And similarly, I will find the gap between all these points, and then I will square this. I will square this delta, because what I wanted to do is, because some points may be on the down and some points may be up. I wanted to take out that effect of the sign. So I will square it and then I will sum it. Our aim is to find the best fit line where this value is minimum. Okay, this value is minimum. So we can draw the multiple lines like this, but we choose the one whose total sum or error is minimum. So this is what we try to do in kind of the linear regression. So if you look at this, when you try to, if you remember the linear algebra, you can see this is nothing but y is equal to mx plus c, right? Or mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the intercept. This is the intercept, right? This is the intercept. And our aim is to find the m and the b, and then we know the x. With the given x, we can find the y. Okay, so this is what is the simple linear algebra we will be applying here. For that, the algorithm is already there. So what are the things we'll be using? We will be using some libraries. See, now we start using the libraries. What are the libraries we are using? We'll be using what is called as the pandas, NumPy if required, scikit-learn, sklearn, import linear model. So this has the linear model has this linear regression algorithm. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. The first thing what we are going to do is we are going to read the data. What is the data? This data we are going to read. So we are going to read this data. So in Python with pandas and all, it's very simple. If you want to do the same thing in Java or C, it may be many number of lines of code. Here is simple one-line code. From the pandas, you can read the data. When you read the data, it will come like an Excel sheet. See the same way. See the Excel sheet is there, or CSV file is there, comma separated file. In the same way, I'm getting the area and the price. So now I have to identify which is a dependent variable, which is an independent variable. See, the price is dependent on what? Area. So area is set as the independent variable, price is set as the variable, right? So then what we are going to do in this, we have to basically, there are many things we can do. So first is, from this we call it as a data frame. Data frame is nothing but like a two-dimensional, you can call it as a matrix, and it is like a Excel sheet. Okay, so here, and also when you say df, it automatically uses some kind of an indexing. It starts with 0 to 4. Now what I wanted to do is I wanted to separate the price, the independent variable, separate the dependent variable, and apply that to a model. So again, if I say df of price, I can get only the price. And I want to know what kind of data it is. It is a series. It is a series. Okay. And then I can say the shape. Shape is going to give me the size. That is, there are 5 records and then 2 columns. So that is what it is going to give. And then before doing that, let me just try to plot a graph of using a matplotlib scatter plot. So this is a scatter plot we can draw, x-axis and y-axis, area and this. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the price column so that I will get my x value. My x value is nothing but the new DF, which is nothing but the area, and then my y value is my price. So this is a series. And now what I'm going to do is, now with this, I'm going to build this model. This is the model. There is a model is already there. I mean, the algorithm is already there, linear regression. What I have to pass? I have to pass the x value and y value. I pass the x value and y value, and then I fit the model. So once this model is ready, then I will check the score. That means I apply all the data points to this model and then find out what is the accuracy of this particular model. Score is around 95%. The data, whatever is given, it is accurate up to 95%. Now what I am going to do? Now I am going to apply this. Now I am going to plot the graph. Now I am going to plot the graph. This is the best fit line. This is a best fit line. So these are the data points, and this is what is the best fit line as per the algorithm. This is what is the best fit line. And now with that, what we can do is we can find out the price. We can predict the price. Suppose I want to predict the price of the home of 3,200. Then I can predict the price, and then it has predicted around 615. If you look at 615, 3,200, yeah, 615, it is somewhere between 3,200 and 3,600. Okay, it is quite good, at least in terms of predicting the price, right? And then we can also predict some of the other prices, and then we can get the coefficient and the intercept. Those values we can get. Again, we can apply it to y is equal to mx plus c, and then we can predict the prices. Now, if new data set is given, how can we predict the value? So now what we are going to do, we are going to use the areas.csv. So this is a new data set. I'm going to upload all these areas, and then I want to know what is the price for these areas. Okay. So then what will happen is, again, you can apply this, you can upload this, you can read this data, and then you pass this as the x value, and then you can predict the price, and then these are the prices. Okay, these are the prices which our model is predicted, and you can save it to a file. The predicted prices can be saved into a file. So this is what is the price. Predicted price can be saved into a file. So this is what we have done. This is a simple linear regression where the data is not so complicated. Just to understand us, we have what we call it as the x-axis and the y-axis, or the independent variable and the dependent variable. Only one independent variable, which is area. Dependent variable is price. So in this way, we can get started with what is called as the linear regression, or we can build a linear model out of it. So this is the it is like hello world program of any other programming language, which is called as the linear regression. And all these, as I told you, like all these model is available in the scikit-learn, and the libraries which we will be using is pandas and numpy. So now, where do you get these programs? In order to help you people, like I have all these programs are there. I will explain you some more program also. You can refer to these programs. So you can open up my website. This is just, I will put you here in the chart window. Okay, if you open my website, in that you have something called Git. You know, like nowadays people are using Git to store the programs, right? Git repository. You can click on Git. When you click on Git, so much code I have written here. You can click on repositories. In that, you can say search for machine learning. Okay, you can search for NIE ML workshop. This is what workshop I did in Mysore NIE College. So I will just post that also to you. Then there is a presentation and the programs. In that program, I have machine learning. And in that machine learning program, I have these things like say 01 is the linear regression and this program is that. Okay, so these are the programs available in my Git. Okay, in my Git, these are the programs available. You can copy paste and you can check the program. So it is free, and a lot of such programs are available in my Git. So other than this, my programs also I keep on conducting various webinars and all. Like I have a YouTube video here also. You can see the all these things. Like recently, I have conducted many of the webinars, and you can see all the videos. And again, it is free. You can just subscribe to this so that whenever I post a new, I will be posting this webinar like whatever I have done in your college, so that you can follow up, and you can just subscribe so that you can get all these webinars. I mean, all these videos free of cost. You can do that. Okay, you can subscribe and you can watch this. So these are the code available. So just to recap now, so far whatever we have done is the linear regression, where we are using a simple linear regression, which is helping us to predict this particular value. So this is one of the examples usually when we get started. Other than that, you can use like linear regression multivariate. This linear regression won't be that much simple in the sense, in real scenario, it is not like this. If you look at the new set of data, let us say this is another data set where okay, this is another data set. This is another program which I have. So here let us build in some kind of a complexity. Let us say see, the price is not dependent only on the area, right? Price is dependent on so many other factors. Like it is dependent on the area, bedrooms, and the age of the second-hand house which we want to build, or third-hand maybe. Okay, we wanted to buy. So it is not just only one value. It depends on so many other values like area, bedroom, and the area, age. Based on that, we have to predict the price. In the last case, it was just area and bed area. In this case, see, we have three independent variables. What are those independent variables? Area, bedroom, and the age. What is the dependent variable? It is the price is the dependent variable. So now we have to build an equation to do this kind of a problem, which is again a multivariate. Here the number of variables are more than one. So let us see how quickly we can go through, and we will see how this kind of problem can be solved. So this is a multivariate. So again, this is the data we have. In this case, see, it is not just M1, X1, it is M1, M2, M3, and these are all the independent variable, or we call it as a feature set. So this is a dependent variable, which is a price, and then these are the feature set. That is what we will be using. So let us see how we can solve these kind of things, and how can we solve these kind of problems. Okay, using the scikit-learn. Again, we have to import the pandas, numpy, scikit-learn from that linear model. Again, you have to read this information, and then here one more thing is, see, this data is missing. As a data scientist, they have to do a lot of work. Like this data is missing. Now, can I remove this data points, or should I assume something? That is what is the work of data analyst and all. Along with the business team, they will try to understand like what is the importance of this data. Can I remove this, or can I keep it, or can I fill something? So here what we have decided is, okay, let me fill this data with the median of this. That means these many houses has so many bedrooms. Let me add everything and the average I take, and then I put that value so that I will replace this. So I will take the median and then I am going to put that value here. Okay, fill that with that data. So now this data is there. Now again, I'm going to build a linear regression model. I'm going to drop the price so that I will be having all the independent variables, and then I can be using this dependent variable, and then I can start the applying the algorithm, and then I can predict. And then, so in this case, when I want to predict the price, then I have to send 3 parameters: the area, the number of bedroom, and the how old this particular house is, and then we can predict. So this is another example of multi-variate example. But in real scenario, other than that, what we do is basically we try to split the data into 2 things: train data and test data. We are going to split the data and then we are going to use it. So now what I will do is I will be using one real kind of a project I will demonstrate, where it is again predicting the home prices only, but with the real data or with so much data. So let us see. And also here we are doing the total engineering. See, here no one can come and then check the prices of a house and all. If you want to give it to the end user, they cannot run the program like this, right? You have to give a user interface for them. Okay, so let us see how can we build that and how can we solve that using Python. Let us look at this. This is a Bangalore home price, and this is the data. I have the data like this. This is somewhat like real data. So in this, we have so many parameters. Different parameters we have. What are those parameters where we have? Like we have the area type. See, when you build a house, they calculate different areas, like built-up area, super built-up area. What is the availability when this house is available? Which is the location? What is the size? Like it is 2-bedroom or 4-bedroom or what it is? And what is the society? Who is the builder and society? What is the total square feet area? How many bathrooms are there? How many balconies are there? What is the price? So what is that we are trying to do here is to predict the price given these parameters. So how to go about this? Because see, earlier only we had so far only the numbers, but now I have textual data also. How to handle this textual data? How much data I have? See, I have nearly around 30 plus thousand or 11,000 plus data, I think. Okay, it's around 13,000 data we have. So this looks like a real data. Now, finally, how the user will be using this? Because as an end user, suppose you are working for some of these companies like a Magic Brick or something, which are into real estate, and they want to give this as a tool for their customer, and so that they get to know like what could be the general idea, general price in that particular area. Then we have to build a user interface. Then we have to build a model. We should have a front end, back end, and all, right? When you get into a real project, you have to build the front end and then a server side programming and then the back end. So now first we can start with building what is called as the back end or the model. So first thing is we can build a model. Once the model is ready, then I can build the back end program. Then I have to build the front end program, where front end program could be like your HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the back end program in Python is developed on web frameworks like Flask. Flask is one of the web framework. So let us say if we want to build this kind of a thing, this is a real project which you can take up in your engineering course. And similar to this also, not exactly this, or maybe some kind of similar projects you can take up. So that where you will be knowing everything like front end, back end, and all those things. So let us see how to go about this, because it won't be so simple when we start working on this particular project, because here there are some challenges. See the data. I want to extract this number 2. Here you see, here somewhere it is BHK, somewhere it is mentioned bedroom, and if you have to look at the data. And also, if I want to see the prices, area, some places it is recorded as a range. Some places it is recorded as one single value. So a lot of data cleaning, data cleansing, data manipulation work will go into it. Okay, so let us look at the final product. Like first, let me show the final thing, when we are developing this, and then we'll get into each one of them. So the final product would be something like this. Where let me run a server. This is a Flask, Python Flask. Okay, so I'm running my backend server, which is built on Python Flask. It runs on 5,000 port 5,000, and it is a backend server. I mean backend program. And meanwhile, let me just start the front end. The front end we have to develop. See, this program is organized into client side, model, and the server. Client side, this is the app. Because end user cannot come to your notebook and then he cannot give this, right? So this is what is my backend program, and this is the front end. So here we will be giving something like this. Suppose that now I will ask the end user wants to know what would be the price for the area 1,000 square feet, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom in first block Jayanagar. Estimate the price. The price is somewhere this. Okay, let me go to some area which is 2,000 square feet, 3 bedroom. Okay, and then some distance part of Bangalore, let us say Anekal. So Anekal, the price should be definitely less, right? So it's around 124 lakhs, still one. And also, like you can predict the prices in different areas. Like for example, judicial layout. What would be the price? The price is around 110 lakhs. Okay. So what is that I'm trying to do is, now the problem is now this is what is the data given. So as a data scientist or data analyst or data engineer, they have asked few people to build a solution for this, where we will be using some kind of a machine learning model to predict the price by giving these values. These are the inputs. These are the inputs. These are the inputs. How can I do it? So we have to, when we develop a product or a project, basically you should have a front end. This is a front end. What is the back end? Back end program is a Flask server. It is a web server. And then we have the model. Model is nothing but my machine learning model. This is what is the end product. Now let me go and show you one by one how to go about building this kind of thing. So this is a Bangalore home price. So let me first go to the model. Again, this is a Jupyter notebook where I start reading the data, cleaning the data, cleansing the data. So many things gets into this. Okay. So now this is the real data, and also see many of these projects or data set is available in a website called Kaggle. So Kaggle is a very good website, even related to Corona. So many things people have done. There are so many hackathons and all you can participate. And this is Kaggle GCL. So this is the one. KGCLE. Okay, this has a lot of data set and lot of programs available. You can look into it when you want to get into any kind of projects or anything. This is one of the thing which is used extensively all over the world. This is what we call it as the Kaggle. Okay, this is the Kaggle website. And like related to Corona also, you have a lot of data set, lot of projects available in this. And a lot of challenges also is there. There are prize money is there. If you want to get into, like there is a competition, home prices, like there are different sections are available, predicting the price. Okay. Other than that, there are different companies also putting their problems here. Many people start providing the solution and things like that. So this is the website mostly into this area. Now the data is taken from that website and we are going to read the data. Okay. So once we read the data, this is what is the data I'm getting. This is a sample data. See, there may be lakhs of data. Then I want to read only first 5 records. This is what I can do. df1.head. I'm going to read some kind of data, first 5 records. And then see shape means there are 13,320 records and 9 columns. And what are the columns? These are the columns. Which are all the unique area types? You can do a lot of functions are there and value counts. Drop the feature does not require to build a model. For example, now it is considered area type is not required for building the model. Society may not help, balcony may not help, availability may not help. Just drop it. Okay, so that may not help in doing this. Then you start cleaning the data. Then you find out how many null values are there and what to do with the null value. Whether are you going to remove it or are you going to keep it. So that is what we will be doing with the null data. So what to do with the null data? So here we have decided to drop those null data. Then we are going to do the feature engineering. See, what is the feature engineering? Here you can see, when I look at this size, I want to get the bedroom. And the bedroom here is, see, BHK. It has 2 BHK. Some places 4 bedroom. So what I wanted from the building the model, I want to just extract 2, 4, 3, the numbers only. I don't want this thing. So then I can use Python. I can use what is called as a lambda function. And using that, what I can do is I will split that data and only I will take the part of the data which is a number. So these are the kind of the things you want to get into when you really get into working on the project on the machine learning. So this is what we call it as the feature engineering. So once we do this, then we will check whether all the data we got square feet, is it converted into a number or is it not? So this is what we can get into and we can check it. And so another problem is, see here, total square feet is like range. Now what I wanted a number, but they have given a range. Again, what I have to do, I have to get this data and then I have to add the data and add these 2 numbers and then divide by 2 to get the square feet area. So that what is the point I'm trying to make is the data whatever we get may not be very clean. Maybe this kind of data will come. It is not. It is. We cannot say it is incorrect, but this is how they have collected, which may not be like what we expect. Then we have to work on this data to get the cleaning of the data, and then cleansing and then manipulating. I think around 40% of the work goes into this of any machine learning project or anything, cleaning and cleansing the data. So this is where it will get into. So this is what is the step-by-step process we have to do. And then now I have to split this data based on the hyphen, and then I have to take the token and then I have to average it and things like that. See, now I got the data in this way. So we have to go about doing all these things step by step. And also we wanted to analyze the price per square feet. Is the price per square feet is proper? Even though I may have the data, but there may be outliers. That means some data may look not quite correct. Okay, so the data, whatever is gathered. So then we have to take the help of a business analyst, and with them we have to sit and then see whether this data makes any sense or not. Okay, so now price per square feet, you see Electronic City, it is around 3,699. You know, thoroughly some areas it is like this. And then we start analyzing this and we can find out the statistics. What is the mean, what is the maximum, minimum, and things like that. Then we have to get this data locations, because location is one of the important factor here, right? So when we want to predict, see, I will be selecting this data, how can I get this data? Because there are so many data is there. So out of that, there may be some locations which are 1 or 2 properties. So it does not make sense to get only those values to predict something. So then we have to group them under some kind of a category. So this is what we are going to do, location. When the count of these locations are less than some value, you can put them as others. So these are the areas where I have one property, I can put them as others. So that is what we are going to do. So this is what we will be doing, like as a data analysis. We are going to do all these kind of the analysis. Then we are going to reduce the dimension here. So saying that more than 10, lesser than 10 location, and you can put it as others and things like that. Then once we get all these things, so we are ready to build a build. Okay, then we are going to remove the outliers, which see there may be some houses with some less square feet having so many bedrooms, which is not correct. So we have to keep on removing those kind of data. Once everything is there, then we have to plot. Then we see whether it makes sense. Still, we have some data which is outliers or which is not proper. Then we have to take out those things. And once we have everything, then we are going to you build a model. We are going to build a model, and then there is something called label encoding. That means machine cannot understand something like first block Jayanagar. It needs some kind of a number. Then we will be converting this location into a number. That is what we call it as encoding, one-hot encoding and all. So there are various techniques available to convert this into a number, because we can work with the number only. We cannot work with the text. So then finally we are going to build a model, and which can help us in predicting the prices. So then we are going to split the data into two things: training data and test data. So we have around 13,000 records. We are saying that I will use around 20% of the data for test purpose. Rest 80% of the data I use for training. That means more and more data used for your training, your model can become better. Okay, so the data, whatever the data set we have, we are going to break it into two parts: test part and train part. And then we are going to first we train the model with the training set, and then we are going to test it with the test set, so that we know like how my data model is behaving with the new data. Okay, so there are various techniques of dividing. There is something called k-fold validation. Okay, so things like that. And then we have different algorithms like linear regression and then decision tree. We will be seeing like which model is working fine, which algorithm is fine, which algorithm is giving us the more accuracy. We can select those particular algorithm which is giving us the better accuracy. So that is what we are going to do. So once everything is done, then we are going to convert this into a file. This model is converted into a file, which we call it as pickle file, because finally I am going to put it into a server. So this model, preparing the model itself is going to take a lot of time. Once the model is prepared, then data engineering is not much difficult. But this is the part where you have to do multiple iteration and all. Once my model is ready, I can convert into a file. We call it as a pickle file. And then this model can be converted back. I mean, the model is converted into a file and then pickle file. And then from the pickle file, I can convert it to a model. And then I can use it for predicting the prices. So this is what we are going to do. So once it is done, then my model, see whatever the model we have built, now that model is converted as a file. See, this is a model, whatever the Jupyter notebook is there. See, now it is converted into a file. This is what we call it as a pickle file, and that particular file, we are going to put it at the server side. So this is the file. So artifacts, you can see this is the pickle file. My model, the machine learning model is converted as a file. Now what I will do, I will write the program for the front end and the back end. So the front end program is like where we are going to develop the user interface. Like this user interface we are going to develop. Okay, where we are going to develop a user interface like this using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And then once I submit this value, it will go to the server side programming, which is a Jupyter notebook. So this is the program which is a Jupyter notebook. Sorry, it is a not a Jupyter notebook program, but this is a server program which is running on the Flask. Okay, this is the program. So in this program, we get the request and the response, right? So if I make a request, and then how the response can do. So what it is going to do is when we call for the predict home price, it is going to get this data, and then it will pass to the model. From the model, whatever the predicted price comes in, it is going to give back to the front end. So we will be doing the end-to-end programming we will be doing in order to do this. So in essence, just I wanted to give a gist of like how this particular projects on machine learning can be done, and you can take it up as part of your project work, mini project, or big project, or you wanted to learn this particular interesting area. So if I want to put this in a pictorial way using what is called as, so let me show whatever the things I have done so far pictorially using a Jamboard. See, now this is the project which we have converted like a, so first what we have done, we have prepared the model, we have the data, from the data we have prepared the model using some kind of a algorithm and then converted into a file, we call it as a pickle file. So this is the model we have built, and then model is converted into file, and this file we will be loading into a server, and this is my Flask server, which is a web server. This is Python Flask. So here we build the front end using HTML, CSS and all. So from the front end, we have this user interface where we select all the data, and then once I submit the data, it will call my Flask. So Flask will internally read the data from the pickle file. It will pass all this data, the predicted value will come back, and then that predicted value is displayed on the front end. So this is how we can build, and you can deploy it on a cloud, like you have Heroku. There are some free cloud service providers, Heroku, or this one, what is that, Google Firebase. So you can deploy it, and then you can see, you can show these projects to everyone on the cloud. Okay, so this is what, if you want to build any end-to-end project on a machine learning of this kind, where you want to predict something, you can use it. Another thing is the classification, where you actually use the image and you try to identify what kind of image it is. And when you upload a new image, and then it will predict what kind of image it is. So these are the basic few of the projects which you can get started. Another area is what is called as the NLP, which is a natural language processing. There also you can do a lot of projects on this natural language processing, which is like a chatbot kind of a thing. So which is a chatbot. You can build a chatbot, and again, building chatbot is not very tough. So that is another area, another kind of things which you have to study, which is a natural language processing. You can do a lot of projects on this particular area also. And there are, you can get into Kaggle, as I told you, like there is a website called Kaggle. You can get a lot of ideas on how people are actually using this data science, how they are solving a data science project. And there also you will get programs as well as data, and you can see like how previously they have done. See, that is what I'm talking about: training data, testing data, everything is available. This is one of the topmost websites, or the where people are actually using and then competing with each other, and industries came and they will put their problem, and even some players, sometimes they will keep a price for the person who does it in a better way. There will be competition. Okay, so this is how you can get started with options are available. A lot of new things are happening in this world. Okay, so just to conclude what and all the things I have discussed so far in last 1.5 hours to 145 minutes. So I started with what is artificial intelligence, what is machine learning, what is deep learning, and what is the difference between each one of them, because sometimes we will be using them interchangeably. What is the difference between each one of them, and what are the different kinds of applications are already being built, and what kind of projects companies, technology companies are working with. And then I moved to the machine learning, and then I spoke about what is supervised machine learning, and then unsupervised machine learning, right? And also I taken some kind of a code base just to show you like how we can start building the project. So hopefully this was useful. And as I told you, you can go to the website where I have put all my code and all. Also, all my videos are available here. Those who are joined late, you can check the website, and here all the code base is available. Videos also available. You can just look and get started with this. And you can also get the code base from here. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can get all the notifications freely. And this is my repository. So many programs I conduct, and as part of that, I keep on putting all the programs here. With reference to the one which I have done, you can look at this. I already shared there. In this, even Python program, and even all this, even the program which I have taken as a demonstration purpose, everything is available here. You can look into this. Hopefully this was useful, and with that, let me conclude what I have done so far. So just I started with the introduction, and then I bit of history of AI and machine learning, and why all these things now, because of the two factors. One is availability of the data, second one is the better computing power, and then the all these algorithms and all are helping us to solve many problems. Hope this would be interesting for you people, and then you can actually start working on these projects, or start like burning your hand, in the sense making your hands dirty. Just explore. So now cloud is available, and you need not to pay anything. There are few free early available are there. You can explore and experiment, so that you can really get into all these technologies. So with that, I thank once again Professor Mangala Patil for organizing this program, and also the principal, Dr. Rajendra sir, and the management comprising of Dr. Shiv Prakash, and then Rukmani madam, and all the faculties present here, and all the students. Thank you very much. If you have any questions and all, you can put it in the chat window. Thank you. So you can put your questions, anything you have. So let me wait. If you have any questions, you can type in. Okay, over to you, Deepa madam. I have done from my end.
Thank you, sir.
Hope it was useful for you people. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Students, any queries? Okay, Deepa ma'am, you can conclude.
Also, I have shared one. Your professor will be sharing you a feedback form. Please give your valuable feedback, and we have a Google form. And also, if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can get the free videos. We are not charging anything; it's just free. Just it would be helpful for you people. Okay, you can subscribe to our channel. And in the near future, we want to work with you, so that if at all any workshop is organized by the college in association with the student, we are ready to help you on this.
Sure, sir. We will let you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for explaining the machine learning applications to the students. Now I request Professor Satya ma'am to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Raghu Prasad, sir, for your wonderful speech on ML. And we got a nice information from you. And students got a wonderful idea from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I thank our principal and the management for encouraging us to organize this webinar, sir. And hope we'll be in touch with you for further any guidelines, sir.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Yeah. Yes.